Yes, here we go, everyone. Coming back for another interesting evening of, I don't know, conversation, chatting about things. I'm going to go ahead and bring the music down here, because I think I'm, there we go. Right about there, I think. Yes, that's it. Finalizing some show notes here. I was thinking about what was I kept thinking about what kind of show I was going to do tonight. I kind of decided that instead of doing my nostalgia related streams once a week, I didn't want them to be like a weekly thing. When I go back on nostalgia, I want that to be a treat. That might be like once every 3 weeks or so. Let's see. And go ahead and bring the music to an end here. There we go. So, welcome everyone. And once again, in the chat, as always, greetings, Killer Rabbit from space. Very cool to have you joining me tonight, and anyone else out there who might be lurking. Thank you for joining me, whether it's live, lurking, or on replay. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Let me see here. Getting some things going here. No, as I was saying earlier, I was thinking about what did I want to do for tonight's live stream, whether it's going to be on a particular topic or subject, or if it was going to be one of my nostalgia related live streams. But then I decided anything nostalgia related, those are kind of treats for me. Those take me back. I want to keep those kind of rare. Instead of doing them like a weekly series, I might do them like once every 2 or 3 weeks, maybe once a month. Having something like that. Let's see. Check this setting. Check that setting. Yep, that looks good. That looks good right there. I was checking my system resources as I was setting things up and getting things ready to go. Then I realized my poor little computer, my replacement desktop for my old desktop, doesn't quite cut it, but oh well. I found out that a quad core processor is like a bare minimum, but that's some geeky computer talk. I'll say for another time, perhaps. Okay. Getting right into tonight's topic, tonight's show. Every once in a while, I'll go back and check out some articles I've come across on the comic book industry, one of my favorite subjects. Comic books. If you were a child of the 70s or 80s, chances are you grew up reading comics, checking out your favorite comic book characters, maybe growing up on Saturday morning cartoons and whatnot. Had to hit the cough button. Allergies are still killing me. But anyway, there I was going through some articles on how bad things were for the comic book industry. I mean, it's there's no shortage of news stories about how things are, where things are going. I kind of like keeping up with this because I just want to see who's doing what where things are headed. And let me jump right into, actually, I want to go back here and I want to double check everything. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. I just wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row. There we go. All right. So now I can go back to my full screen. There we go. And hopping into the first article of tonight, I'm going to share with you all some articles, give some thoughts on them. I won't be too terribly long. Like I said, allergies are kind of killing me, so I won't be like a 2-hour stream tonight. Let's see. So the first article of the night is, what is this? ComicBookcom. I have no idea. Best-selling comic book writer Peter David asks fans to help with his tax bill, which is unfortunate. I mean, if there's one thing that shows the state of the comic book industry is writers, artists, industry types asking for financial help. I mean, time and time again, I've seen numerous articles like this over the past 2-3 years that I've been keeping track, that I've been kind of paying attention to them. And it's unfortunate that he's in this particular situation. Let's see, Peter David, the best-selling writer behind cult favorites and mainstream hits like Young Justice, Captain Marvel, and X Factor, is facing a massive tax bill and potential financial ruin. So he's turned to his readers to help out. Okay. I'm not going to go in depth on this particular article. I feel for him. I hope he gets some help with his financial ills. But I got to say, looking at this and looking at similar articles I've come across today and the day before, and I've been looking at these articles for the past few days, and there's easily half a dozen that I come across that all say the same thing. Comic creators are in dire straits. They're asking for help. This one is, who is this? This is bleedingcool.com. This is going way back, just to give you an idea of what's going on here. This is Bleeding Cool from March of 2017. Mags Visaggio asked for help to get through period of unexpected unemployment. It's unfortunate. Things happen. She set up a GoFundMe. This was back in 2017. So to give you an idea of how things go from one year to the next, December 30th, 2023. This is Fandom Pulse. Marvel and DC writers Mags Visaggio, Sean McKeever beg for rent money online while the comic industry collapses. So this is 6 years. Well, I just jumped from an article from 2017 to this article 2023. That's 6 years. Now, this begs the question, what exactly is going on with the comic book industry that they are all in dire straits? I mean, we all know the answer, of course. Quickly sum it up. It's the whole go woke, go broke mentality. I mean, we are seeing this play out now for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, if not more. Let's see. This article. It's been a bad year for mainstream Marvel and DC Comics writers after having a comic shop owner expose how terrible sales are because of poor self insert writing. Now, Rebel Moon writer Mags Visaggio and Spider Man Loves Mary Jane writer Sean McKeever are begging for money for their rent. Okay. I don't want to be cruel about this, but you really have to look at what you are producing. I mean, I just showed one article that that was back in 2017. This article's 2023. That's 6 years, and you're in the same predicament. I could be flippant and say something like, "Well, McDonald's is hiring," or you could always be a door greeter at Walmart, or you could do actually something that's actually constructive and create content that people would actually buy. I'm just scrolling down this article and I'm seeing reason after reason why people are not buying comic books. It's sad they're in this shape. It's a bad thing they're in this predicament, but you got to really look at where things are right now with the not just the comic book industry, but the economy in general. I'm looking at a Bounding into Comics article now from a couple of years back. This is 2021. This has been a pretty famous article here. Kelly Sue DeConnick laments the abysmal state of comics after telling people not to buy her books. This is downright famous. I mean, we've all heard this before. We've all heard the quote of, "If you don't like my politics, don't buy my books." And comic book store owners are coming out and saying, "Well, your books are collapsing my store. So you're not just hurting your sales, you're hurting the comic book stores, you're hurting the comic book industry." At some point, there's got to be some kind of realization about the state of the comic book industry. Oh, this was a pretty interesting interview right here. This interview, Kelly Sue DeConnick and Matt Fraction talk comic books. I'm not going to play clips from this right now. I have watched a few clips on this, and it was kind of interesting how Kelly Sue DeConnick was talking about the state of the comic book industry and where they were now, and the sad shape, the sad state of things, how things are going. And at one point, well, like this article says, Fraction then chimed in, stating, "I don't think I share. I think you're more pessimistic about it than I am." Again, we're getting, I mean, I'm scrolling down this article. It's just one example after another of the shape of things, the state of the comic book industry. Okay. Oh, yes, I did see this last bit on this particular article right here I wanted to discuss. Interestingly, when they discuss how to solve the problem of declining sales, they don't point to the actual content of the books being created. Rather, they talk about local stores and how they are adapting to stay in business by creating comic book communities despite the poor products. Yeah, they can never look in the mirror. This group that's driving the industry. They look at how things are. They're going, oh, things are bad. Our sales are declining. Can you please help us pay our rent? Now, right now, I will say well, probably no secret that the economy as a whole is pretty bad. And all you have to do is go to the grocery store and just look at what you buy grocery wise. Check out, look at your grocery bill and think, gee, this is a lot more than what I'm paying for in groceries than I was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So the economy is not all that great to begin with. Plus, uh, comic books, they're to some people they might be considered like an luxury item at this point. It is coming down for a lot of people. Is like, do you buy food for the table to feed your family, or do you like go out and spend on entertainment? We're having to make some tough choices nowadays because of the state of things. So the comic book industry needs to do something really radical to change the direction that they are going. This is, I'm looking at another article here. This is Publishers Weekly. This goes back, to, a little over a year ago, December 22nd of 2022. Indie comics publishers face year-end financial troubles. I was reading a little bit of this article. It's pretty interesting. It was kind of talking about who is doing what, the troubles. This one company here, Aftershock Comics, an indie house based in Sherman Oaks, California, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, citing $10 million to $50 million in liabilities. Let's see. Celebrated sci-fi and comics publisher Heavy Metal has initiated an in-house restructuring and temporarily suspended payments to vendors. That's not a good sign. Again, this is back a year ago, so I haven't kept up with them since. This particular article just goes on and on. And if I've looked at 3 articles like this, I've looked at, I'm sharing like 3 or 4 articles here, but I've found so many more earlier today. I mean, it is really easy to just find article after article after article on the state of things. Let's see. This is a Vice.com article. It's impossible to make money for most writers and artists in comics. This is August 19th, 2021. So I've been hopping around from with articles from 2017 to 2023, just one after the other, saying things are in dire straits. Checking out in the chat here. Killer Rabbit. Lately, I've been reading early Doctor Strange. That's cool. Yeah, I've been going through my comics collection, checking out early Valiant. I've been rereading some of my old Valiant comics like Archer and Armstrong or Exo Man of War, Solar Man of the Atom, those old Valiant comics from the early 90s, like 91, 92. Let's see. I'm not going to dig into this particular article because it goes pretty deep about the state of the industry. Let's see. Or speaking of Valiant, I always like going back to their website to see if there's anything new with Valiant Comics. And I was looking at this a little earlier today, and sadly, this looks like a dead comic book company, because it really looks like they're trying to tread on their past glory. Let's see. Click on this comics tab here. It shows all the series, all their old books. Nothing really new here. I mean, they're showing all series, trade paperbacks, deluxe hardcovers. This is the same that it looked like from, I want to say 6 months ago, 7 months ago, when I was looking at them earlier. I don't know. I'll check on their click on their calendar link here. All right. Release schedule. We have 2023. Click on that. Okay. This is pretty sad when you don't update your website. There's nothing new for Valiant since August of 2023. It's showing Exo Man of War Unconquered number 6. August, July 5th, May. So the comic book company that at one time from 90, 91 to 92 was pretty much kicking butt with their titles. They're not even doing a comic book a month. Unless there's something I'm missing here. Let's see. This is pretty sad. Now, this is the same thing that I saw the last time I came to this website for Valiant. Valiant Entertainment and Alien Books partner to expand publishing plan for the Valiant universe. If I click on that, that does, yeah, this is June of last year. I read this last year, and it does not seem to be any kind of update here, which is sad. If I tab over, now I'm looking at their Twitter here, or their X page. I was scrolling down their Twitter X page. They've got lots of stuff. It looks like they're reprinting all their old stuff. They might have some new artwork, but no, there was one post here I clicked on just because I saw it might have had some feedback or comments. This particular posting from July 14th, 2023, with 6 replies to it. So you want to learn the state as like this one poster asking, is Valiant dead? Kickstarter responses and updates. Almost 2 weeks and nothing new. This is July 25th. Yeah, that's pretty sad. Cosmic Book News article here. Comic book store owner blasts DC and Marvel Comics writers. Industry reacts. This is the pretty famous one where comic book store owner Glenn O'Leary pretty much had his viral uh, comments about the state of the industry. Like he was saying, most of these new writers don't have the love of comics like the older writers had. All they care about is how can I put myself in the book, he says, in a video which has been viewed over 1 million times. The comic book store owner of the Comic Book Palace from Massachusetts, Glenn O'Leary, has more than a few things to say about the writers not caring about the fans, characters, and source material anymore, and blasts them for injecting themselves into the material. So yeah, this I'm not going to dig into this. This has been discussed numerous times since he had his viral video on December 3rd, 2023. Of course, this article, there's another reason why the comic book industry is failing. Let's see. Industry vets react. Following the video going viral, industry veterans reacted to the footage, some with opposing opinions, including Jamal Igle, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Gail Simone, Jimmy Palmiato. I'm butchering that last name. And then Mark Millar. All right, so this one guy blatantly attacks the owner and mocks him. That's always a winning strategy. Gail Simone seems pretty diplomatic with her reaction. Of course, Mark Millar comes to the defense of the comic store owner. And now there's quite a few people who have started coming out in defense of the owner, pretty much saying that the state of things, where they're headed, is pretty sad. Clownfish TV, cancel pigs, a term that actually came out from all this. Cancel pigs finally admit the comic book industry is broken. This was from 5 days ago. Comic book industry is broken, and even the people who tried for years to convince us otherwise finally have to concede. Sales are down, shops are closing at a shocking rate, publishers are going under, payments are late and later, and creators are begging for cash on social media. No, this is not fine. It's been going on for some time, and I keep wondering, when are we going to hit bottom on this? At some point, everything's going to hit rock bottom, and somebody somewhere is going to have to say, if DC and Marvel are to be saved. I've kind of jumped ahead on my slides here. I'm going to back up once more, back to the Clownfish TV article. Now, my thoughts on this are, at some point, if the comic book industry is going to be saved, then people are going to have to do a major, major course correction. I mean, we can't keep this downward trend and expect things to keep going just as they are. No, at some point, things are going to hit rock bottom. Comic book publishers are going to continue closing. Um, People are going to look at all the things going on with the state of things, and it's just not sustainable. I don't know if it's going to crash and burn before there's a course correction, but yeah. Guess only time will tell really where things are going, what's going to happen. Uh, until then, I'm going to actually continue enjoying the parallel comic book um, I don't know what to call it, the parallel comic book industry, so to speak. Anything that is, well, let's just call it Comicsgate and Comicsgate adjacent. Anyone out there who's independently creating their own books and pretty much being successful. I mean, there's no shortage of successful independent comic book creators out there like Ethan Van Sciver, Eric July, countless others. They're putting out books. They're and like I said, they're being creative. They're being successful. They're not worried about paying their rent. They're not having to beg fans for money to help them pay their bills and whatnot. No, it's just I'm just kind of watching this to see where the industry is going to go. All right, so shifting gears from that tonight to the next little bit I wanted to touch on is, well, of course, Steamboat Willie, or the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse, is now public domain. For better or for worse, people now have Steamboat Willie to do something with. I don't know what people will do with it. Well, actually, I do know. I'll touch on that in a little bit. This is another opportunity for creatives to come up with some interesting content. I mean, it's no telling what people will do further down the line, like 6 months from now, a year from now. We have no idea what people are going to create with Steamboat Willie. Looking at this Time article here, Mickey Mouse is now in public domain after 95 years, woof, of Disney copyright. Wow. That's almost 100 years. You can almost say that's like 100. You might as well say just 100. You just round that up, say 100 years almost of Steamboat Willie being copyrighted. Let's see. When Walt Disney first released the cartoon short film Steamboat Willie in November of 1928, it was groundbreaking. It was one of the cartoons to use synchronized sound and would go on to become one of the most critically acclaimed and popular cartoon films in the world. So that is an interesting bit of history right there. And it speaks to the impact, the cultural impact that Steamboat Willie had with Disney and how far they've taken it. Let's see. Perhaps most famously, the cartoon introduced the world to the characters of Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Mickey Mouse, in particular, quickly became one of the most iconic characters of the Disney brand. Disney has fought to keep its copyright of the famous cartoon character as long as possible, lobbying the U.S. government to extend copyright protection before it was originally set to expire in 1984. I didn't actually know that. If I read something about that way back when, I probably wasn't paying attention. That just shows how good Disney is at lobbying the U.S. government when they can get the copyright extended when it was set to expire in 1984. Let's see. In 1976, the law was changed to allow owners to retain copyright protections for the duration of the life of the author, plus an additional 50 years. In 1998, Disney once again successfully lobbied along with other entertainment companies, to extend copyright protections to the life of the author plus 70 years for a maximum of 95 years. Woof. But in January of 2024, the copyright on Steamboat Willie officially expired, and Mickey Mouse is now officially in the public domain. Well, the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse. This means that now anyone in the US can use Steamboat Willie version without fear of copyright infringement. Copyright laws vary by country, however, so in some places, Mickey remains protected. That's really interesting because we have already seen what people will do with Steamboat Willie, for better or for worse, which leads me to the next article here. Den of Geek from January 2nd of this year. Whether Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh, public domain horror movies need to stop. Yes. This is rather a disturbing trend I've found. I mean, if you want to talk about something that kind of reflects the current culture, it's this strange trend to make things perverse, or not, maybe not perverse. It's obscene. Drench something in horror that used to be a children's character, a cartoon character. When you think about it at its core, it's rather kind of disturbing. As of New Year's Day, elements of Mickey Mouse are now in public domain, so of course he already is the star of his own horror movie. Mickey Mouse has got a knife. With those simple words and the corresponding horror movie trailer which goes with them, it's become clear that the 21st century is about to get weird. Well, weirder at any rate. Nearly 100 years after Walt Disney and UB Iwerks animated the short film Steamboat Willie, which introduced a rodent who helped Walt build an empire, the same short cartoon has entered the public domain as of January 1st, 2024. And already there's been as many new Mickey Mouse slasher projects announced as there have been days in the new year. Yeah, I mean, it's disturbing. If you want to talk about something that kind of speaks to the current cultural climate, or where culture can quickly de-evolve to. I mean, this was what is this? Mickey Mouse's Trap film. This talks about Mickey Mouse Trap. There's Infestation 88, a new Steam video game. So it looks a lot like Five Nights at Freddy's. This article talks about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which I really didn't know anything about beyond just hearing the title. I was like, no, that's sick. Okay, whatever. And of course, what is this? Blood and Honey 2. Yeah, Killer Rabbit. I will never support movies like that. Yeah, I don't mind an occasional horror film. I can't stand the slasher stuff, the blood and guts stuff, the torture porn. I mean, those are just awful. It's like you shouldn't feel dirty or polluted just by watching something, but that's That's kind of what these films do, especially when they take uh, once family friendly cartoon characters and alter them to become horrific. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I was kind of reminded of this goes back more than a few decades. Uh, many decades ago, there was this talk show host, this commentator, this religious political commentator named Dennis Prager. He had a TV show, a 30-minute long talk format, chat format TV show that often came on immediately after Rush Limbaugh's TV show. So if you remember the Rush Limbaugh TV show, it was like 30 minutes long, a chat talk format where Rush Limbaugh would talk about stuff, and then Dennis Prager would also often come on afterwards on his own TV show and talk about things pertaining to the culture, politics, religion. Uh, it's kind of interesting. If you were around back then and you were kind of a religious conservative person, you probably watched those shows. I mentioned this because this made me think back, just reading this article here, made me think back to a particular Dennis Prager show where he was talking about. Gotta get a drink of water here. Bear with me one moment. Where Dennis Prager was talking about the state of the culture at that time. Whenever his TV show was on, he had one episode of which it talked about were people good or not. He asked the question, it was kind of a general question, like, are people good or are they bad? Like, society in general. He kind of posed the question out there and he was talking about it. Kind of, or what the point he was getting to was people aren't necessarily good or they weren't necessarily evil, but they're not necessarily good either. And it was kind of a shame to think about because the point he was making is it's easier to do something bad as opposed to doing something good. It's kind of something that makes you think, like people left to their own devices will eventually become corrupt. I think that was kind of the gist he was getting at the time. It's like we all like to think we're good people. We're good to our neighbors, good to people we don't know. We help out with charities and whatnot. But it's something you have to work at. Kind of interesting to think. So how am I connecting all that to this? It's like, what's the first thing that happens when Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh enter the public domain? Some strange people get a hold of them and they create something bad. It's it's like culturally it's easier to create bad things as opposed to create something that's good and wholesome and unique or family friendly or that has a good moral message. No, it's blood and guts. It's a shame to see the culture continue down that path. Of course, it's nothing new because uh, slasher films have been around since the 70s, 80s. Horror movies have been around since then, if not longer. Um, but now we're just seeing this mentality of taking things that were once family friendly cartoon characters and corrupting them. Oh, well, what is that old saying? It's easier to destroy something than it is to create something. I know I'm probably getting that wrong, but this is how I kind of feel about this subject matter. Let's see, how long have I been rambling on about this? Not quite an hour. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty soon because my last thoughts on this are kind of kind of a challenge to any creators out there who like stumble across this, listen to me ramble on about this. Now, if you're a creator and you want to create something with Steamboat Willie, then I dare you to. I dare you to create something that is fun, that is wholesome, that is family friendly, that might even have a good, positive, moral message to it. Like this title of this article says, these movies like this need to stop. And the only way we're going to counter something like this in the culture is to have more people, more creators out there create something with a good, positive, moral message, something that's family friendly. You think about what can drive the culture, what can change the culture from the downward trajectory it's in. I mean, the first half of my live stream tonight, I was chatting about comic books and the state they're in. Well, how did they get to that point? They got to that point because of the downward trajectory they were in, the self inserts, the political messaging, and whatnot. No, the comic book industry has its own problems, but this highlights a similar mentality. The way I see it, it's kind of. I'm stumbling over my words here because I'm trying to get all this out. It's crazy. It's rather disturbing when you think about it. And like I said earlier, it kind of, to me, it kind of touches on what I was talking about. Dennis Prager, when he was talking about, are people generally good or are they generally bad? That was from Dennis Prager's TV show back in the early 90s, almost 30 years ago. So 30 years we've gone from just posing that question to where we're having sick individuals take corrupted versions of cartoon characters and make horror movies out of them. So yeah, this is a challenge. If you're a creator out there, whether it's an animator or a comic book creator, writer, artist, what have you, do animation, take Steamboat Willie, do something fun with him. Come on, we got to counter this trend in our culture because we've got to put a stop to this. This is not a very good trend to have in our culture because it's like a snowball's effect. It starts small, and as it keeps going, it gets bigger and bigger, and you're seeing more and more effects of this not only throughout the culture and entertainment, but society in general. Oh, I see in the chat. Hello, West Kagel. Good to see you here tonight. Disney hasn't been moral and family friendly since '89. Yeah, if even then, because the more I read up on Disney and some of the things going on, and like the even before '89, there were some pretty disturbing things going on with Disney. Oh, you saw the Prager video. I say people are inherently bad. It's a religious moral framework that guided them to be good. Yes, you saw that video. Okay. I didn't know how many people out there are in my age range or in my age group. So that's cool. Yeah, people are inherently bad. It's a religious moral framework that guided them to be good. Yes, we have to work to be good. We have to work to make good decisions. And this is, like I said earlier, when I was looking at this article earlier today, I just started thinking about Dennis Prager's video from way back when, and it's like, this is low effort. This is the lowest common denominator of culture. It's kind of sad, really. It speaks to the state of our culture. It speaks to how easy it is just to think of something horrific and take a child's cartoon character and pervert them or warp them to a horror movie. Let's see. Wes Kagel says, yeah, it went downhill at Disney when Walt died and Roy took over. Yeah, yeah. I remember some people saying that Walt had his problems as well, but I don't want to speak ill of the dead exactly. But yeah, this is not the same Disney that I grew up with, that a lot of us grew up with. They were more family friendly in the 70s and whatnot, 70s and 80s. Um, oh, I'm even mirroring a lot of the sentiment I've been hearing recently over the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You know, when you hang out with friends and whatnot, your own circle of friends, you might hear somebody say something to the effect of, "This is not the country I grew up in." Or you might even hear it from somebody who's in their 60s, 70s, certainly somebody in their 80s. If you have parents or grandparents in that age bracket, you might ask them about how this country has changed. They'll probably quickly say, this is not the country they grew up in. But yeah, it's kind of sad. I don't want to exactly end the stream on a down note. I want to look at something positive, and I believe that creators out there, this is your opportunity. This is your time to take Steamboat Willie and do something positive with it, something wholesome with it. So I'm probably going to let's see. Yeah, I'm going to end the stream right about here. Like I said, I wasn't intending to go more than an hour tonight. Touching on the comic book industry and the state it's in, that went by pretty quick. Touching on Steamboat Willie also went pretty quick. To end it here, to end it on a positive note, this is the perfect time for creators all over to take Steamboat Willie and do something wholesome with it. We got to counter this downward trajectory that our culture's in. Oh, goodness. Melted Copper. Hello. Well, thanks for stopping by. I'm sorry I didn't intend to go too terribly long, but well, I can guess I can go a little bit longer. Hope everybody's been doing well out there. Let's see. Wes Kagel, Walt did have issues like everyone has faults, but folks kept that stuff in the closet back then. We didn't air our degenerate tendencies. Yeah, yeah. A lot of things were kept hidden back then. It's fine. You've been jumping the airwaves all day. No, I haven't actually had a chance to be streaming today. For me, I do well to live stream a couple of nights a week. I'm trying to keep a solid schedule on Monday evenings and Wednesday evenings. And then I tend to co host with Comic Relief Crusader on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then beyond that, I'm keep myself pretty busy. But yeah, I'm getting to a point where I can keep a pretty solid schedule with Monday nights and Wednesday nights. And hopefully I can continue that trend and grow more content. Like earlier this live stream, when I first started, I was talking about my nostalgia streams, how I was thinking about more things to talk about nostalgia wise, things that take me back to my youth or childhood. And it's like, I don't want to do those like every week. I want to keep those kind of rare, kind of unique, like once a month or once every 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, it's like trying to think of interesting topics and whatnot for my live streams and things like that. It's like, oops, what am I doing here? Do I want to do this? Oh, that looks interesting. As I push buttons along here, going, oh, what does this do? What does this do? What does this button do? Yeah, I kind of like that. As I'm kind of in the picture there. Yeah, there's going to be like 80 Steamboat Willie horror films, unfortunately. That's kind of what I was touching on earlier. We don't need to continue the trend of one bad horror movie after a while. It's like I can like check some out, and after a while of watching a horror movie or something, it's like I feel polluted. I just feel like I need to go watch something good, clean, or wholesome to get that out of my consciousness. I think the last horror movie I found myself kind of enjoying or being uh, caught up in was like The Exorcist, but that is like a classic horror movie. If you like horror movies, there's some good ones out there that are good examples of the genre, and then there are some really bad ones. There's some movies out there that I would just refuse to watch. Those I just some I even have trouble just mentioning the names of. So I'm not even going to mention the names of the ones I just refuse to watch. There's some truly sick stuff out there, and no, that sort of thing. Not only does it affect the entertainment industry, it affects the culture, it affects society. We're losing, well, it is kind of cliched to think about it, but in a way it's true. We are losing our national soul to a lot of things going on in the culture and in society. Now, to go on in particulars, that could be like a whole nother 2 hour live stream just touching on things in society and in entertainment that affects us as a whole. And I don't know if I'll ever get to that particular topic on YouTube. That might be too much for a YouTube live stream or a YouTube video. But yeah, we need more clean, wholesome, family friendly entertainment out there. And that's with this Steamboat Willie going public domain, it certainly gives you a lot to think about where our entertainment is, where our culture is going, what we consider entertainment and what we don't consider entertaining. What's this? Melted Copper. I heard the new Exorcist is bad and they don't commit to it. Yeah, I've heard that as well. I haven't seen it. Like I said, uh, I remember the one Exorcist movie, the first one. I don't know how many sequels there are from way back when, but yeah, I don't keep up with horror movies. I like sci-fi, fantasy, some good comic book related movies. Then nonfiction stuff or fiction stuff. There's pick a genre, and there's some really good content out there for movies and TV shows. It's just I look at things like I've touched on tonight with the comic book industry and then Steamboat Willie. It really does say something about our culture and where things are headed. But anyway, how's everybody doing out there? I want to say before I do wrap things up and leave tonight, hope everybody's doing well out there and your new year is going well. What's this? Melted Copper says, personally, I was always more of a Warner Brothers cartoon fan over Disney. Yeah. I mean, as far as animation goes, Warner Brothers is pretty good. I'm a fan of Studio Ghibli. I quite enjoyed some of the content, some of the movies Studio Ghibli's put out. The animation is really nice and artistic. I haven't seen all of their movies. Some of them I haven't particularly been interested in watching. Pretty big anime fan, so I'm kind of picky with my anime. Warner Brothers, though, their animation is pretty good. I quite enjoyed the Justice League animated series, the Justice League Unlimited, and then, of course, the Batman, the animated series, the Superman, the animated series. Even something like Batman Beyond was a really good animated series, even though it was short lived. Let's see. I think there were 3 sequels. There was at least an Exorcist 3. Yeah. Oh, yes. Happy New Year, Part 3. What's this? Bruce Timm, Batman the Animated Series leader. Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah. That was some good stuff back then. Back when I'm thinking of what was that movie? Mask of the Phantasm. I started watching more and more of the Batman the Animated Series. I think I've gotten up to episode 5 or 6 of it, and that is a good show. I kind of like the look and feel of that Batman the Animated Series. I know there's not much of it, so I'm kind of watching a little bit at a time, not binge watching like whole seasons of it or whole chunks of it all at once. I want to like spread it out and kind of enjoy it. And then I'll go on to the Superman the Animated Series. I might even go back and rewatch the Justice League animated series. Oh, Batman the Animated Series is the definitive Batman. They even show. Oh yeah. Oh, what's this? I'm not a fan of Studio Ghibli. I don't care for the animation style. Kiki's Delivery Service is the only one I cared for. Okay, I have not watched Kiki's Delivery Service. I remember seeing Nausicaa Valley of the Wind when it first came out way back when. And I just recently, I just got that on Blu-ray for Christmas. I have not seen a large chunk of Studio Ghibli's, but the few that I've seen, I quite enjoyed. And what's the Smelted Copper saying? 90s Spidey had to fight for a Tommy gun, so Batman got to use guns and not lasers. Okay. It's kind of weird to think back. There was kind of a interesting transition from the 80s to the 90s and from the 90s to the 2000s. How cultural norms kind of impacted the things that were presented in animation. Yeah. Yeah. Ending this on a positive note, kind of a call to creators out there. Take Steamboat Willie, do something great with them. Let's see some good wholesome stuff to counter these horrible horror movies and horror video games. That's kind of disgusting. Now let's see if creators can, if we can have some kind of impact on the entertainment industry, whether it's urging creators out there to change, to put out more wholesome entertainment, or even simply doing something like vote with our wallets. Whether it's good comic books, good animation, there's stuff out there that's good, stuff out there that's entertaining, stuff out there that's good and positive. We just have to seek it out, give those creators money, support them, and then let everything else fall to the side. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. Let's see who joined me tonight. Right off the bat, Killer Rabbit from Space, always joining me right off the bat. Thank you. And then there was West Kagel dropping by. Thank you. Melted Copper. Very cool to see you drop by. Yeah, this has been fun, everyone. It's kind of hard getting into talking about comic books because as much as I have enjoyed reading comic books in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's kind of sad to see where the comic book industry is right now. It's it's kind of sad to see. Hoping things can be turned around. Hoping people can look in the mirror and ask themselves where the problem is, so to speak. But yeah, there's got to be a major course correction, not just in comic books, but in the culture as it is, and the entertainment industry as it is. Good night, everyone. Thanks for the stream. Always a pleasure. Well, glad you guys enjoy it. Thank you all for joining me tonight, whether you're in the chat or lurking, or if you catch this on a replay. Thank you all for hanging out a bit and listen to me ramble on as I do. Sometimes I get into it, and sometimes the subject matter, the topic I talk about is hard to get into, and this is one of them. This is, like I said, talking about the comic book industry and the state it's in. It's kind of sad, but we got to look to what positive trends there can be, and it's up to the creators to do some good stuff to kind of counter the bad stuff. So I'll leave you guys with that. Until next time, everyone. Thank you and good night.